Hi, welcome back to Penetration Testing, a hands-on introduction to hacking. In this video, we're going to cover installing Kali Linux and configuring its network. So let's get started. In the last video, we installed VMware Workstation 12 Pro, and now we're going to add our virtual machines and create our virtual lab. Kali Linux is what we'll be installing in this video, and if you don't know what Kali Linux is, it's a Debian-based Linux distribution that comes packed with a bunch of wonderful um, security tools. I think there's over 300 if I'm correct. So let's get started installing that. We can open up a browser. Here we go. Oh, I got two of them here. And we'll go ahead and we'll Google Kali Linux. We'll click downloads and we'll scroll down and you'll see here it says Kali Linux VMware. We'll click on Kali Linux virtual images and we'll scroll down here. Now there's a few options here. If you know for a fact that you can install and run 64-bit VM virtual machines, then go ahead and download the 64-bit option. Otherwise, the 32-bit option will do you just fine. Sometimes you have to enable a part in your BIOS to run 64-bit machines, so that may be something that you have to configure or figure out on your own. Unfortunately, I won't be helping you with that. So if you can't run the 64-bit, just come back here, download the 32-bit, and you'll be just as good. So I'm going to go ahead and click the 64-bit version of Kali Linux. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to choose to save it to my desktop. I'm going to click save, and it is a big file. It is 2.1 gigs. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, and I'll be back once it's done. Alright, now that our download is complete, we can just go ahead and close the browser, close our tabs, and we can take our download that's right here. We can cut that, and I like to move it into a folder in my documents. I call it virtual machines, and then I have it set up here for pen testing, the hands-on, so for the book. So I'm gonna just paste my downloaded VM there, and I'm gonna go ahead and go back to VMware Workstation. Now, what's nice about the VMware image of Kali is that you don't really need to install it. It's much quicker to get it up and running. It's pretty much the second option here to open a virtual machine. So first of all though, we have to unzip our download of Kali Linux, which is in the 7-zip format. So we'll go ahead and open up a browser, and we'll download 7-zip for Windows. So just do a Google search for 7-zip. I'll click download. I'll select the first 64-bit option. Click download again. Click save file. I'll put it on my desktop. It's done downloading. I can go ahead and I can close this browser and go straight to the desktop. And we have our installer. We'll double click the installer to run the 7-zip, and we'll click install. And so you're gonna have to reboot your computer. I'll click yes. So I'll stop this recording, I'll reboot, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so now we're back from our reboot, and we can go ahead and unzip Kali Linux. So when I double click, I get this error, unsupported command for some reason. Even when I right click and say open with 7-zip, I don't use 7-zip much, So what I did is I uninstalled it and I installed the 32-bit version, which when I run that as well, if I try to add something, it says you must select a file. I can't seem to open. Like, this program doesn't run very well, but it sees my desktop. So I'm assuming I can cut this, go to my desktop, paste it in there, and here it is. And now we can extract it. I don't know what's up with this program, but yeah, you might have to play around with it. It's kind of stupid. So we're gonna say extract to. I'm just gonna put it back to where I had it. Virtual machines, pen test, and I'm going to put it right in that file and click OK. And it's going to extract our Kali Linux image, and then we should be able to open it up into VMware Workstation. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this while it extracts, and I'll be back in a second. Alright, so it seems that it's done. And go ahead and close this, and you can actually delete the zip if you want to save 2 gigs on the machine. We'll go back to where we extracted the file, and you'll see here it says Kali Linux, the year, the version. We can double click that, and you can see here you have the whole virtual machine files. So from here we can go back to VMware Workstation, and we can go to open a virtual machine. And so what we'll do from there is we'll find our virtual machine where we extracted it on the system, and so there we go. We click through. Now this is the one file here. We're going to click open, and you can either power it on by the play button up here, or the green little arrow down here, power on this virtual machine. If you want to edit the virtual machine, you can give it a few more processors if you want. You can give it some more memory and everything. I advise doing that ahead of time before booting it up. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this. I'm going to give the machine 4 gigs. Just click OK. I'm going to go ahead and power it on. We're going to click yes, and it's going to go ahead and boot up Kali Linux. So when this pops up asking you if you've moved or copied it, just click I copied it, and it should only ask you once. So we can go ahead and click in the screen, hit enter. I actually have a separate video I've made before about installing / opening Kali Linux in VMware Workstation. So I'm actually curious to see how 7-zip worked in that video. I have to go back and check that out. So now that we are here, we've hit the login screen. So your login is root for your username, and your password is just root backwards, so tour. And then that should log you in. Kali should boot back up, and bam. So there we are. We have our full running version of Kali Linux as a virtual machine. Our next step from here will be configuring the network for your virtual machine. Alright, now to configure our networking for our Kali machine on VMware Workstation. So we'll be configuring this because we'll be using Kali Linux to attack our target machines over a network. So we need to place all our virtual machines on the same network. In chapter 13, we'll be showing you how to do post exploitation, where I'm pretty sure it's the pivot attack, where we'll be going from one network to the next. So that's a little bit later on. For now, we're going to just configure our attacking system to be on the same networks as our other computers there that we're going to be attacking. So VMware Workstation offers three options for virtual network connections: bridged, NAT, and host only. For this, we should be choosing the bridged option for our Kali machine. The bridge network, it connects the virtual machine directly to the local network using the same connection as the host system. NAT, which is short form for Network Address Translation, sets up a private network on the host machine. The private network translates the outgoing traffic from the virtual machine to the local network. Host only network is going to limit your virtual machine to the local private network on the host, and it pretty much isolates it, no internet connection, nothing like that. So if you want to learn a little bit more about that, you can Google about the virtual networks, or you can read a little bit more in the book. So we'll go ahead and we will configure the network for Kali Linux. So in the tabs up here where we have home, my computer, and the Kali Linux system that's running, we will right click, go to settings at the bottom, and then you can see here we have our network adapter, which is set to NAT. So before I do that, I'll just go to show you that if I run the command ifconfig, you can see here we are on the virtual network that VMware creates for us. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to connect to the network that our host computer is running. So ipconfig, we're going to be connecting to a .1 whatever network. So let's go ahead, we'll change that right now. We'll click network adapter, bridged, OK. Now Kali over time, I guess, if you give it enough time, should automatically switch. It doesn't always. So if you issue ifconfig, we can see here it hasn't changed for us. So if you want to change it real quick, we can actually just do service network manager restart. Oh, if I can type restart. And you'll notice up here this will disappear, up in this corner will disappear and come back. And then now if we issue the command ifconfig again, you'll see here that we're on the 192.168.1.121, the same network that our host computer is running. If we want to go ahead from here and test that we have internet connectivity, we can ping, say, Google, for instance, and we're getting a ping back. That's perfect, or a response, sorry. So from here, that's our network is configured. In the next video, I'm going to go over installing applications into Kali Linux, such as the Nessus vulnerability scanner and a few other things. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.